All right, welcome back to Digital Bodies. This is a quick tutorial to explain the use of layers. And so let's do a couple of things. I'm going to bring in a couple of reference objects. We're working on our potato project. So let me just grab one of these. I don't want it to be locked. I want to have that set up. So from our main controller on our non-drawing hand, we can use the blue button, and in this set of options, we'll see layers. And so we can create new layers. We will say, we'll use the plus button and create a new layer. And you'll see that we can see which one is a solo layer. We can control its visibility, and we can also lock them. And so in many cases, if we grab an object, we can put it on a layer, and we can control its transparency, and we can name it. So let's call this, as I type here, we'll call this image. And then as I work on my other layer, now we can see that it's here. I can even lock this. And so I can't move it, but as I move around, it does move around, right? It's not locked in terms of its location. It's just locked in that I can't manipulate it. So now as I work in layer 2, we can see that if I also click on it, that's fine. Delete that. And okay, enter layer name. Let's call this geometry. And so I can hide this and go to my stroke, and I will draw with a black line. And I want to make that a little bit smaller. And so as I begin working on this surface, I can again call out specific areas that I may want to reference. Again, beginning to think about this as a kind of a large scale, as a kind of landscape. These might be some of my pins for reference. And so if I have those as reference pins, I can come back to my layers, and maybe I want to call that geometry pins. And I can create a new layer. Let's call this contours. And this will allow us, working with the layers, will allow us to, we can lock our pins so that they won't move. They stay in relationship to the potato. And now as I work on the contour layer, maybe I can begin to think about how, and we can see this is three-dimensional. And if we flip this over, we could be working on the other side. Maybe we don't like the transparency. So let's change that from our image. Maybe our pins should be a little more transparent. And we can almost ghost out the reference image if we want to control that a little bit. We could have our pins on or off, and then we could work with our contours. We could turn this off completely or on completely. We could turn off our pins completely. And so this allows us to control kind of organization within our file, right? We may want to come back in, still working on contours. Maybe that one seemed a little low, and I can start imagining beginning to approximate a shape. But in the end, I may not actually want so much that shape, but begin to add another layer. I don't know what I'll call it. Maybe I'll change the color slightly, where I might start to articulate some notion of on the surface, these reference points tied to my pins. And so if I begin to think about moving across the surface, here's that kind of scar that's down here, this element elevating these to these points on the surface, right? We may not want these later because we may decide to come in and change these and begin to work on these as objects or as drawings on the surface. Right? If we think about this as a kind of topography, we may want to come back and hide those, some of those aspects. And here, maybe I want these to be contours. Again, what I could do is select them and put them on the contour layer. And you can see as I grab them, I'm moving them, but once I put them on the contour layer, they end up back where they were located previously. So if I turn down, or let's say I'll make my contour layer current. If I turn down these other aspects right here, I can see that now I've moved the contour lines that I wanted to be in contours there. Right, so there's a way to work back and forth between all these things and a way to begin to locate different objects and organize your data. So I hope this helps. And this is a start. And good luck with drawing and mapping and understanding the topography of your potato.